Hello and welcome to another presentation in the Code Web Training series, providing instructions in the manual application of the ICD-10 International Rules and Guidelines for Mortality Classification. This presentation examines the special instructions on poisoning by drugs, medicaments, and biological substances, applying step M4. My name is Saman Gamage. I work as a Senior Technical Advisor on Medical Certification and ICD under the Data for Health initiative of the CDC Foundation. And I will be your guide through this presentation along with Patricia Wood and Yusuf Ahmad. This presentation and others in the series are based on the WHO Mortality Classification Rules and Guidelines found in ICD-10 Volume 2. These rules and guidelines have been the subject of numerous updates over the years, and we use the 2016 version, which is the most recent readily available one. If you don't already have a copy of the 2016 version of Volume 2, you can find it at the link on this slide. This slide is a reminder of ICD-10 mortality coding process. First, the mortality classification rules and guidelines in ICD-10 Volume 2 are applied to cause of death information reported on the Standard International Medical Certificate of Cause of Death. Next, an ICD-10 code should be assigned to each cause of death reported. Basic coding guidelines can be found in Volume 2 of ICD-10. And finally, the mortality classification rules and guidelines found in Chapter 4 of ICD-10 Volume 2 are applied to the coded information on death certificates. After coding all causes of death reported, the first step in choosing an underlying cause of death is to select the tentative starting point. This is done by applying selection steps SP1 to SP8 as per the rules and guidelines found in ICD-10 Volume 2, Section 4.1 to 4.2.1. These topics are covered in other presentations in this series, so if you need a refresher on it, please look at other videos on this channel. Once tentative starting point has been selected, the next step is to check whether it is subject to modification by any other information on the certificate. The special instructions for applying the modification steps M1 to M4 are found in Volume 2 in sections 4.2.2 and 4.2.5 through 4.2.9. Let's discuss step M4. For step M4, special instructions are available in section 4.2 of Volume 2 under 4 main areas. This means step M4 is applicable for 4.2.6, special instructions on main injury in deaths from external causes, 4.2.7, special instructions on poisoning by drugs, medicaments, and biological substances, 4.2.8, special instructions on maternal mortality, and 4.2.9, special instructions on surgery and other medical procedures. These 4 topics will be discussed in 4 separate videos. Our previous videos discussed the special instructions on surgery and other medical procedures and instructions on main injury in deaths from external causes. Today we discuss special instructions on poisoning by drugs, medicaments, and biological substances. Let's start today's topic, step M4, special instructions on poisoning by drugs, medicaments, and biological substances. If the starting point you selected by applying steps SP1 to SP8 and steps M1 to M3 is poisoning, and more than one toxic substance is reported on the certificate, apply the instructions in section 4.2.7 of Volume 2, special instructions on poisoning by drugs, medicaments, and biological substances. Step 4, to identify the most important drug involved. As you know, the purpose of mortality classification is statistical tabulation. Therefore, identifying most important drug, medicament, or biological substance involved in poisoning is important for public health to make policies for prevention. Now we will discuss section 4.2.7, special instructions on poisoning by drugs, medicaments, and biological substances. Special instructions under this section are provided in volume 2 in selecting the underlying cause of death under the section 4.2.7a, main injury under the section 4.2.7b. 4.2.7a, selecting the underlying cause of poisoning by drugs, medicaments, and biological substances. Here we will select the most useful underlying cause of death from the external cause code ranges X40 to X45, accidental poisoning, X60 to X65, poisoning due to intentional self-harm, Y10 to Y15, undetermined intent. Poisoning can be accidental. It may be an intentional self-harm or with undetermined intent. Now we will discuss some of the common drugs involved in poisoning. Heroin. Heroin is also known as diacetylmorphine and diamorphine. Synthesized from dried latex of the Papaver somniferum plant, highly addictive analgesic drug, often used illicitly as a narcotic producing euphoria. Heroin is a hallucinogen or psychodysliptic. What do you mean by a hallucinogen? Hallucinogens are drugs that can potentially change the way people see, hear, taste, smell, or feel, and affect mood and thought. Another common drug associated with poisoning is diazepam. Diazepam belongs to a class of drugs known as benzodiazepines, used to treat anxiety, alcohol withdrawal, and seizures. It is also used to relieve muscle spasms and to provide sedation before medical procedures. Diazepam works by calming the brain and nerves. Amitriptyline is another drug associated with poisoning, a tricyclic antidepressant primarily used to treat major depressive disorder, a variety of pain syndromes such as neuropathic pain, fibromyalgia, migraine, and tension headaches. Amphetamines are also associated with poisoning. Amphetamine is a central nervous system stimulant used to treat attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, narcolepsy, and obesity. Clonifrazepam is also a benzodiazepine used to treat severe insomnia and assist with anesthesia. As with other hypnotics, clonifrazepam has been advised to be prescribed only for short-term use or by those with chronic insomnia on an occasional basis. Alcohol is a commonly associated substance with poisoning. It's a psychoactive substance with dependence-producing properties that has been widely used in many cultures for centuries. The harmful use of alcohol poses a high disease burden and has significant social and economic consequences. Now we will move on to section A under 4.2.7, selecting the underlying cause of poisoning by drugs, medicaments, and biological substances. Under 4.2.7a, there are two instructions, A and B. Now we will discuss instruction 4.2.7a, section A. If one of the drugs is specified as the most important substance in bringing about death, code the external cause code for that drug as the underlying cause of death. Here is an example. Accidental heroin overdose, part 1A. Part 2, diazepam and amitriptyline present. Let's check how accidental heroin overdose is coded. Check the table of drugs and chemicals in section 3 of ICD 10 volume 3 to search for heroin. I'm looking for heroin now, and heroin is here. Chapter 19 code for heroin is P40.1. From this code, we learn heroin is a psychodysliptic or hallucinogen. And as the external cause for accidental poisoning, we select X42 from chapter 20. X42, accidental poisoning by an exposure to narcotics and psychodysliptics, hallucinogens, not elsewhere classified, and that includes heroin. Also check the table of drugs and chemicals for diazepam and amitriptyline, assign chapter 19 and 20 codes. We can see chapter 19 code for diazepam is P42.4 and the external course code is X41. And chapter 19 code for amitriptyline is P43.0 and external course code is X41. Now we apply mortality coding rules. SP2 selects P40.1. However, according to the special instruction 4.2.5 of volume 2, T40.1 is not a valid underlying cause. Now we will apply step M4. Certifier has identified heroin as the most important drug as it is reported in part 1 according to the special instruction 4.2.7a. Select accidental poisoning by heroin as the underlying cause, X42, accidental poisoning by exposure to narcotics and psychodysliptics, hallucinogens, not elsewhere classified. Now we will discuss section 4.2.7a, subsection B. If none of the drugs is specified as the most important substance in bringing about the death, first try to get further information from the certifier. If no clarification can be obtained, code combination of alcohol with a drug, code to the drug, other multi-drug text to the appropriate category for other. Here is another example, part 1a, toxic levels of heroin and amphetamine. ICD codes are chapter 19 code for heroin is T40.1 and chapter 20 code is X42. Chapter 19 code for amphetamine is T43.6 and chapter 20 code is X41. SP2 selects T40.1 However, according to the instruction 4.2.5 of volume 2, T40.1 is not a valid underlying cause. Now we will apply rule N4. In this certificate, neither heroin nor amphetamine is identified as the most important substance. Code to X44, accidental poisoning by an exposure to other and unspecified drugs, medicaments, and biological substances. Special instruction 4.2.7a, subsection B. Let's discuss another example. Part 1a, accidental poisoning by alcohol, heroin, and diazepam. Accidental poisoning by alcohol, Chapter 19 code is T51.9 and Chapter 20 code is X45. Heroin, Chapter 19 code T40.1, external course code X42. For diazepam, Chapter 19 code is T42.4, and for accidental poisoning, the external course code is X41. We apply rule SP2 and select T51.9, and T51.9 is not a valid underlying course because according to the volume 2 instruction 4.2.5, codes from S00 to P98 should not be selected as underlying course update. Now we will apply rule M4. Neither of the substances is identified as the most important substance in bringing about the death. Poisoning by combination of alcohol and drugs are coded to the drugs, according to the special instruction 4.2.7a, section B. Neither heroin nor diazepam is identified as the most important substance in this certificate. Therefore, code to X44, accidental poisoning by an exposure to other and unspecified drugs, medicaments, and biological substances as the underlying cause update. In this section, we discuss selecting main injury in poison. Under section 4.2.7b, selecting main injury in poisoning, there are three instructions, A, B, and C. Instruction A, if one toxic substance is specified as the cause of death, code to that component substance. If one toxic substance is specified as the cause of death, code to that component substance. Let's discuss an example on this. Certify has identified heroin as most important, reported in part 1, accidental overdose by heroin. And part 2, diazepam and amitriptyline has been reported. Certify has identified heroin as most important because it is reported in part 1. Select accidental poisoning by heroin as the underlying cause, X42, accidental poisoning by an exposure to narcotics and psychodysliptics, hallucinogens not elsewhere classified. As the main injury code, poisoning by heroin, P40.1, poisoning by narcotics and psychodysliptics, hallucinogens, heroin. This is according to the special instruction 4.2.7b, subsection A. Moving on to the instruction B under 4.2.7b, if no single toxic substance is indicated as the cause of death, code combinations of drugs with a drug to the drug. Moving on to the instruction B under 4.2.7b, if no single toxic substance is indicated as a cause of death, code combinations of alcohol with a drug to the drug. In this example, part 1a, toxic levels of alcohol and flumethrizepam. Part 2, diazepam and amitriptyline present. The certifier has identified alcohol and flumethrizepam as the most important. Combination of alcohol with a drug are coded to the drug. Select accidental poisoning by flumethrizepam as the underlying cause. X41. As the main injury, select poisoning by flumethrizepam because combination of alcohol with a drug are coded to the drug T42.4. Now we will move on to the instruction C under 4.2.7b. If no appropriate combination category is available, select the main nature of injury code in the order of priority given in the section 4.2.7, page number 107, volume 2 of 2016. 4.2.7b, selecting main injury in poisoning. Section C. Instruction C. If no appropriate combination category is available, select the main nature of injury code in the order of priority given in the section 4.2.7, page number 107, volume 2 of ICD 10, 2016. Here is an example of special instruction 4.2.7b, section C. Part 1a, toxic levels of cocaine, heroin, diazepam, and amitriptyline. None of the substances are identified as the most important. There is no specific code category for combination of these substances. Code to X44, accidental poisoning by an exposure to other and unspecified drugs, medicaments, and biological substances as the underlying cause of death. In selecting the main injury, check the priority list in section 4.2.7b, subsection C to select the main nature of injury code in the order of priority. On the priority list, cocaine is in group 8, heroin is in group 1A, diazepam is in group 11, and amitriptyline is in group 10. Therefore, select heroin, the substance with the highest priority, T40.1, poisoning by narcotics and psychodysliptics, hallucinogens, as the main injury code. For step M4, special instructions are available in section 4.2 of volume 2 under 4 main areas. So far, we have discussed 4.2.6, 4.2.7, and 4.2.9. In the next video, we will discuss the special instructions on maternal mortality. I hope this video was useful. See you next time.